is a channel on the spine that has spinal fluid. That spinal fluid, when it is processed of higher quality atoms and nutrition, becomes the River Jordan. Now, if you understand the word ore, G-O-R-D-A-N, you understand that ore is a precious substance. Okay? That precious substance goes up to the spinal column, which is the River Jordan, and empties into the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is the pneumoplexus that is right here around your what? What's this? Solar plexus. This is the sun plexus where Bethlehem, this is where the Son of God is born. Here, in this center right here, your solar plexus, the pneumogastric ganglia. When you raise this seed up, and the seed becomes qualified, it becomes crossified or crucified at the mount of the skull, which is Golgotha. Golgotha means place of the skull, just like Calvary means place of the skull. The crossing of the two thieves, where you see Jesus was crucified between two thieves, the two thieves represent the two nerves of the sympathetic nervous system, the Ida and the Pingala. So when you see these two thieves talking to Jesus, those are the ones that would steal your energy, the seed back, steal the light of the seed back, and throw it back down and turn it into a pillar of salt. Where did you hear that story from? Lot. Where do you think Lot came from? Lotus. The top of the brain is called, that part that opens up after the Kundalini raises, is called the lotus petals. The 1,000-petal lotus, that's your brain. That's the part that opens up when the Kundalini rises and opens up the lamp of God, or lights the lamp of God that taketh away the sins of the world. If you are dealing with sexuality, like you want to look back and deal with Gomorrah and Sodom and all that shit, that's you dealing with that. If you look back or you change the energy going back downward, then it changes back to the essential minerals that it was constituted of, and you give life on the planet Earth rather than the life up here in heaven. So Lot's wife looked back, essentially the energy, the material that was being brought up the spine, looked back in sexuality and turned back to the essential components. So Lot's wife is the lotus stem. Follow me and keep up with me. Neo is plugged into the medulla oblongata. This is where the Ida and the Pingala crosses at the base of the skull, at the mount of skull. The material, which is like unrefined oil, goes up and is crossified by electromagnetic energies from the Ida and the Pingala. At that point, crucifixion doesn't mean to kill, it means to increase. So at this point, when that seed reaches that cross at the base of the skull, the specific material that was being brought up by Kundalini is refined at that area and increased. In other words, from crude oil to gasoline. Now it goes straight to the particular part where it begins to trill and activate the pituitary, and then after that, the pineal gland. Now, when that particular thing was stuck in his medulla oblongata, immediately a whole nother world opened up. It opened up to any potential he wanted. Remember what he said. Neo awakens, or is the one, the I awareness is increased. Remember, his awareness of self increased as soon as he stuck that thing into his medulla oblongata. Morpheus says he is experiencing a residual self-image. The residual self-image is essentially of his past lives, of all the things that he was, is, and will be, or any potential that he can be. A mental projection of his digital self. Morpheus asks, what is real? Remember he asked me, he says, is this all real? Morpheus says, well, what is real? How do you define real? If you are talking about what you can touch, what you can smell or you can taste, then real is just simply electrical signals that you can interpret with your brain. Now let's freeze that right there. Essentially, that's what the overlords, that's what the fallen lords have done to you. They have created a world of sensuality so that you now think that reality is based upon the sense messengers that send specific types of chemicals to your brain. So reality is being constantly turned over in your brain based upon the food they feed you and the specific appetites they create, which creates the sensations that give you your reality. The movies you go and look at and the feelings you get from looking at the screen create certain energy dynamics inside of your brain and inside of your head, so that you now have a composite reality that you're functioning under. Check? Neural interactive stimulation is the matrix. Living in a dream world. Neural interactive stimulation. That is exactly what they are doing to you. Neural interactive stimulation. Every time you participate in education, every time you participate in sports, every time you participate in the food, the way you eat, in any kind of recreation, the music you listen to, they are playing with the neurons in your body. They are playing with the nervous system to create appetites, to create sensual ceilings. Let me get that to you one more time. They create a sensual ceiling whereby your senses now act as the shutdown mechanism to see beyond where you are. Your senses are taught to block any higher energies from coming through, or your ability to access higher energies. Because when you deal with the senses, you deal with lower components. Morpheus said, man became like unto his creator, created artificial intelligence that spawned an entire race of artificial beings, a singular consciousness. Now, what were we talking about in part one, except the fact that they are beginning to spawn a whole other race of man? This is what we're talking about when they're dealing with the kind of mind control that we're dealing with today. The kind of mind control that we're speaking about in this little folio. Now, y'all may think this is just a little something that I put together here, but I made sure that everything I put in here puts little components enough for you to go and find the rest of the information. Get Matrix 2. And you know, brothers out there, if you can get the Matrix series from the brothers that are behind there dealing with that, get the Matrix series. But get Matrix 2. 1 and 2 will put you into the groove. It will acclimate you to the kind of things that I'm speaking about. But the artificial intelligence dependent upon solar light to survive. Now check that out. Remember that the artificial intelligence was dealing with solar light. Now what did they do? They went about and blackened the whole sky. Morpheus said that we destroyed ourselves to spite our face, destroyed the whole planet in order that they may not live. Now, what is this white man doing? Again, you got to remember that the white man's burden is to make sure that he does not become destroyed by the rest of the planet taking him out of existence. Not just by war, but I'm talking about genetic warfare. Fucking him completely out of existence. He knows it. He knows that we can fuck him out of existence. He knows that the black balls hold his termination. All right? Now, that particular thing processes over to his behavioral dynamic. The very fact that he creates these kinds of weapons, he ain't got nobody else to fight. He owns money's mother, so it ain't about the money. Everything that is promoting his behavioral dynamic, everything that is causing him to be who he is to survive. He cannot interface and love you because he would disappear if that happened. He is a creature unto himself, and in order to maintain that, he creates technology to keep the distance between the humanity that could destroy him. Humanity cannot become part of his reality. That is why in part one I spoke about the fact that they are going to genetically engineer feeling out of the next humanity, or at least the humanity that is going to be the one he wants to interface with. He has to destroy feelings because feelings automatically gravitate you to one another. And he knows that it's a matter of time because he can't outproduce and reproduce you. So he has to restructure a barrier. His technology is his way of keeping the distance between you and himself. That is the illusion. That is the matrix between human dynamics. That is the artificial technology that takes the place of the original technology. You see, because we understood the original technology. When he went over there to these different places, saw all these temples of what he called it, wondered how they worked, couldn't understand why they worked the way they did. He did not understand the dynamics of African melanated technology. It had nothing to do with destroying the planet. It had to do with interfacing with the planet. That takes an enormous amount more intelligence than the kind of technology he is doing. All of this technology is obsolete. He is on this particular mad quest called progress. Progress is insanity. Progress is a psychosis. Progress is a neurosis. It is a necessity because that's how he has to keep up with keeping you down. The artificial intelligence was dependent on solar light to survive. Humanity blackened the sky to destroy them, but these things survived. Morpheus says that throughout the 20th century, man has been dependent on machines, and he said the funny thing and the most ironic thing now is that the tables have turned because the machines are now dependent on man. They grow man like a crop. Frankenstein got out the lab to terrorize its creator, just as God terrorizes man. Why did I say that? God terrorizes man, its creator. Think what I just said. Think about it. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Because you didn't get that. I didn't think you got that. All right. Frankenstein got out the lab. All right? And destroyed, to terrorize and destroy its own creator. Just as God now got out the lab of man's mind to terrorize him. Right? Now, how did the artificial intelligence survive? The human body generates more bioelectricity than a 120-volt battery and over 2,000 BTUs, that's British thermal units, of body heat. Combined with a form of fusion, these machines found all the energy they could ever need generated by the cellular sons of man. Ooh, what did I just say? I just said something in that last sentence that just went right over your head. The sons of man. Oh, holy hallelujah. Woo! Come on and fan me, Jesus. I just gave you a clue. The sons of man. The sons of man are the cells. Now check this out. They now found out that that one unit called the cell is so intricate and dynamic that it has thousands of layers that they have not yet understood in one single cell. They said it is a construct that cannot be fragmented and broken down and understood. This is the single cell. The cell is a sun in miniature, just like there are life forms on what you call your sun right now. The life form called the cell has thousands of intricate other life forms that constitute its own construction. So the sons of man are your cells, because the cells are what need to be reprogrammed through the chromosomes, through the genes, in order for you to escape the present envelope of perception that you're in. You are trapped in this seal. You are sealed shut inside of this. And it is the cells that awaken and change the valence, change the frequency dynamic, change the oscillation, change the dynamic, so that you don't even know what you're going to look like in the new paradigm. Because even if you could project yourself there, which you can't because you're living under a light code lockdown anyway, you can't know what this is going to look like, because the next paradigm, you can't take this beat up piece of shit there. You got to rethink the vehicle. You got to get out of that 1929 bug and get into a 1999,000, Rolls Royce or some other shit like that. You got to go from running around in a go-kart and get into a rocket. Now, you can't get to the velocity in a push cart. Because this is what you're walking around in right now, a beat-up push cart. The body that you have, the cellular agreement, the agreement to have fingers, the agreement to have eyes, the agreement to have teeth, all of these are agreements that have you functioning in the area of the agreement. This is where the contract is for. This is the three-dimensional third density contract area. This is where your body signed in to function. So it needed these things. You don't need it where you're going, because the cells have a whole other arrangement for the kind of consciousness that you must have in your body at the time when you're functioning on other dimensions. You can't take this vessel there. You got to completely break it down and reassemble it to a whole other agreement. Now, when you notice how they're playing your head, because it's really happening. When they were feeding the children, what did they feed the children? What was the liquid made of? Other humans. Right, it was liquefied humans. And what was terrorizing Morpheus was the efficiency with which they did it. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was wasted. The efficiency with which they're keeping you locked down right now is so... I mean, if you could look above all this shit and see how we're scurrying around in a maze like rats. Going to work, that's what I'm saying. Sister, I said that the last time. 66 trillion years of evolution in consciousness, and all you got to show for it is a 9-to-5 fucking job. Could you imagine? You are a composite of God's own evolutionary experience of itself, and you're going to work for a job to do what? To do what? What the fuck are you doing? Look out there, you out here. You're going crazy. You're going to work for a job? And you gods walking around? Y'all need to read, or you need to check the movie Soylent Green. That's an oldie but goodie with Charlton Heston. Morpheus says to Neo, after he sees the truth, that they have a rule. What's the rule? No. Morpheus told Neo that he has a rule. After a certain age, they never wake him up because it's too damn dangerous. No. They can't handle it. Walk into there when you see any good Christian pounding that Bible talking about he knows Jesus. Then pull the plug on his shit and waking him up. He would bug. He would literally bug if he knew what the truth was. He feels comfortable in that zone that he's been put in, believing that Jesus Christ gonna come and take his sorry ass out of his misery like he got some kind of investment. And then these people on that television telling them, you got an investment in heaven right now, just send them dollars and you'll know I got a place for you in heaven. And these dumbass people really believe that they can pay their way into heaven. Creflo Dollar. Now that's a nigga for you. Creflo fucking Dollar. Now, if you don't get that shit now, a nigga with a name like Dollar, and he's a preacher. Damn. And they got one of them biggest churches. Creflo Dollar. What was his mother thinking about? God damn. No questions. Are we going to get a question? Morpheus says to Neo after he sees the truth, they have a rule and never free your mind after a certain age because you have a hard time letting go. It's dangerous. Morpheus says that he freed Neo because he believed that Neo was the reincarnation of a man that was born in the Matrix a long time ago, who freed Morpheus and, many of the others. As long as the Matrix exists, that is the illusion, the human race will never be free. After he died, the Oracle prophesied his return. Now, did you get a look at the Oracle? Now, what was this white boy thinking about when he wrote this? Went into the projects to find an oracle, doing what? Cooking. Can't get a woman to cook no time, nowhere today. But they telling you that mama was in the cookies and didn't give a shit about whether you knew it or not. Would you like a cookie? I love it. I like her acting style. But the thing was missing was they switched it from the cigar to the cigarette. Mama was supposed to have the oracle smoke the cigarette. The cigar. Because the cigar was a legba and it was the opener, the way. That was the way. And they took the cigarette and put the cigarette in the hand, which is the symbol of the white man. You see? Because right away, the power would have been in that black man's hands. He would have been the one. Okay? Said she had the little one. She told him, no, you're not the one. Okay? Because she already found the one. The one was really Morpheus. People were quiet to know. That's right. Now, after he died, the oracle prophesied his return. He was coming to behail the destruction of the Matrix, the end of the war, bring freedom to our people, that he was the savior. Where was the hidden city, and what was the hidden city called? Oh. Now, I don't know. See, these white boys, who are they? The Kravetsky brothers or whoever they were? These boys were definitely dropping the science, all right? Now, we know that Zion, you take again the Z, you take the Z away from it, and you get the ion, just like you get John one more time. Now, ion or Zion is definitely within a matrix of dynamic radiation. Again, radiation, you look at radiation again, you spell R-A-D-I-A-T-O-N. You take away Ra and Aton, right there, you got the symbol of light. Okay, you never looked at the word radiation, have you? R-A-D-I-A-T-O-N. T-I-O-N. Radiation, ion. Okay? So, you're watching them play around with a genetic memory in your head. And if you don't know what's going on, you're thinking, oh, yeah, that's real cool, man. You see that? No. The last human city, in the center of the earth, this is the earth right here. Your humanity is here. They said it was buried deep. Zion is someplace that you achieve. It's not someplace you go to. Okay? And they said that boy was born. He was the one last members born in Zion. And the only two people that were actually born in Zion were who? The two brothers. The two brothers. Ah. Now remember when he tried to jump? Remember when he jumped? What was it that they said? No, he couldn't do it. But what's his name say? Everybody falls the first time. Okay, what does that mean? It means that every time the Creator begins to bring about the concept or perception of itself as man, it falls. Everybody falls the first time. All right? Now, the system is the enemy. Remember, the people are part of the system. The very people we are trying to save is the enemy until they wake up. Remember when he was inside? Now, that's why I tell you folks, be careful when you're out there talking to certain people. Because the very people you think you want to leg up, especially family members, because they're the ones give you the worst time. They want to come and save you. Beat you on the head with the Bible. Boy, you've been dealing with them heathens again. Now, remember when he said, he walked up on him, when Neo came up on him, and it was the guy who was the one who turned out to be the evil one was named who? Cypher. Put a little Lou in front of it. All right, now see, now wake up, people. Lucifer. Now, you have to remember that the word games that are going on, the words that's being played on your head, if you're not paying attention, you don't see what's going on, okay? You have to understand, he was Judas. And Judas essentially was the symbol of, Judas was the symbol of Cancer. Because it is Cancer at the point where the sun is exalted in Aries. As it goes into Cancer, it begins its fall. So it is betrayed at that point. So Judas is Cancer. And that's where the betrayal happens, or essentially that's when the specific spin of the earth starts the descent of the sun in the southern sky. So essentially you're watching Lucifer, who essentially played /Judas, who betrayed everyone, essentially betrayed the Redeemer at the time, who was, and you remember at the time when he was about to put out the lights of the sun, and what do you call it, he now is banished. Lucifer was banished. He was killed off by who? Tank. Okay, now we'll get to that point. Let me get to this point. I want to get to this thing first. Everybody falls the first time. Man fell his first time. The system is the enemy. The people are part of the system. When Neo crept up on Cypher, what did he say? See, I know somebody said. Yeah, he said, God, you scared the bejesus out of me. Remember Bar Jesus? Who was Bar Jesus? Yes. Yes. Okay, right. There's two Jesuses in the Bible. There's a Bar Jesus and there's a Jesus. Now nobody know who the hell Bar Jesus is. Now, obviously Mary Magdalene didn't just go for forgiveness. People didn't understand who Mary Magdalene was supposed to be. Mary Magdalene was the expression. Mary was the virgin, untouched. Has nothing to do with what do you call it? Magdalene was Mary of the world. She was the elements being used and focused into the dynamic of creation. All right? Mary just stayed a virgin, supposedly. She's just what was the material used to create the, quote, Jesus seed. But you scared the Bar Jesus out of me. All right? After 9 years, he realizes that ignorance is bliss. Remember when he had the meeting with the searchers? He said, after how many years? 9 years, the number of completion. He has made his full cycle. Lucifer now has been redeemed. As quiet as kept, he made his pact to be redeemed. He's out of there now. He brought light. They brought him in. Remember he said that Morpheus brought him in and told him he was the one in the whole 9 yards? Well, he came down and he was living in ignorance. He wants to go back into ignorance. Okay? Now, the oracle is a black woman. Let's get to the oracle one time. Come on with the black woman. When he went in, who was in there with him? Children. Something missing. All of the potential. She was the one in the kitchen. She is the creatrix. She is the one who takes all the raw materials and creates the nourishment, the sustenance. She is the one that feeds all humanity. She gives them their reason to be. She tells them what they need to do. In everything that you have done, everything that you have written about your ancestors, they've always gone to an oracle. And the oracle has always told you what it is that you were slated for. All the time. And it invariably was a woman. Because for your earthly mission, it was the woman who, essentially being in touch with all the elements, being who she was the one who knew what the earth had in store for you, helped you to remember why you came back, who you were, used to tell you what ancestor you were. So when she came back in the oracle, and she said, the oracle told me things changed my life. Well, essentially, it was the feminine principle, the feeling principle. Okay? The feeling principle that's missing from everything that you're doing here. When the police snatched him and started beating him like Rodney King, all right, Cypher was the traitor, Lucifer, Let me run down. I don't want to get to questions. Neo believes he can bring Orpheus back. Every mammal develops. Now, check this out. Did you notice what he said? Now, check this out. I didn't remember this thing. The searcher, or the one who was seeking, or the man with the glasses said, every animal develops a natural equilibrium with its environment except man. Man is not exactly a mammal. This is what he says. Somehow, man ain't exactly a mammal because mammals tend to work in synergy with their environment. Man does not. So man is something above a mammal, or as he said, man is a virus. Now, the only time you see a virus underneath your what do you call it? A virus looks white to me. Anytime you look at what you look at a cancer cell, and it is pure white. I'm not about being nice. I'm about being real. You know, I don't hate nobody. I can't hate nobody for who they are. You know. When the program is called it is uploaded, then the X button is pushed again. Every time you look at the situation, you check out the X button is pushed. He dies and he resurrects. The reverse of the Sleeping Beauty. She kisses him back alive. Okay, check it out. All right, he's comatose, he's dead, he's gone. Says no to the illusion, creates his own reality at the end. Now he is Neo, he's the one. The brother speaks to who he is. He says he's the one. Gives into illusion, illusion implodes. Now remember, what did he do to destroy his nemesis? He became him. So when you merge with the beast and you understand the beast, there is nothing he can do. He can't hide from you, he cannot destroy you. Now, at the end, you got the dates. In the first one, remember I said it was 9/18 or 3/29. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me get that first date. I want you to look at it. 2/1998. All right? At the last point, when you go up, you see the word 9/1899. All right? That's the date. After he's become the savior of the world, it comes in 9/1899. Under that, you see 3/29/98. Now, when they focus in on the part where it says systems failure, remember when he's saying, I'm going to tell everybody who you are, I'm blowing this whole lid off. I wish I need to have the... Okay, just picture this. There are a series of all these numbers, and the camera is zooming in on one place that says systems failure. And right where the camera zooms in, it says 3/29/98, 360. Right under 360, you see the word failure. Okay? Now, what is significant of 360 degrees? The circle, the cipher. All the brothers and sisters who are dealing with 7 know what I'm talking about. The cipher, the feminine principle, 360 degrees circle of knowledge, this paradigm, this reality, it has right underneath it, failure. Now, the first date was 2/1998, and I'm going to close this out to start the questions. The first date, 2/1998. The last date they flashed up was 9/1899. You subtract it, reverse it, subtract, it comes out 7/01/01. So I'm saying this to you, beloved brothers and sisters, today in 1999, the year of the lie. July 1st, 2001. Check for that date. If you have a calendar that shoots you forward that far, check the date, because again, the first number given, 2/1998, the last number given, 9/1899, you subtract the one from the other, you get 7/01/01. So the date, July 1st, 2001, is going to be a serious date. Why? Simply because that's the time when the Illuminati was supposed to actually hold the elections. That's the time of beneficence. But they moved the elections to November, so they put you under the sign of Scorpio, so that only your emotions deal now. That's why you don't elect anybody. You essentially choose somebody who seems to look good on television. You deal with your emotions, whereas you would have dealt with your heart, with your empathy if you were voting under another sign. So they moved it over to November purposefully. Now, July is a time when it's supposed to be Independence Day. Something is getting ready to fall. They look for cosmological phenomenon, look for earth changes or phenomenons, look for wars, look for certain, or look for the second coming. I don't give a shit. But that date is significant in some way, huh? It's a Sunday? Oh, great. First day of the month. All right, so like I said, you look forward, whatever's going on. If you have an ephemeris or a calendar that tells you what is in conjunction, what planets are going on, what's going on there, check with your what do you call those places, observatories, to see what star systems are coming into play at that time. All right? And with that, remember it says 329.98 systems, right underneath that word, systems in the movie. It says 329.98. You should go back and find out what happened at that date. And right under the number 360 degrees says failure. Now with that, I did not want to get too deeply into it because for what I needed to say about Matrix, I had to show you. There were certain symbols and things inside of there that I'm just talking on the top of my head, so I just ran it down. Maybe we're going to go into part 2, and then we can deal with that from there. At this point right now, I'll close down the dissertation and open the floor for questions. Thank you. You can step up on the questions. Any questions? About anything. You want to do with health, consciousness, whatever it is. And who gives a royal? We're going to go past that. We're going to put our own presidency up. Yeah.
Actually, for the Matrix, there was one of the scenes, you opened up a book in the beginning scene, and I was wondering if you knew what the title of that book was.
Yeah, I was trying to find that title. He shot that by so fast. It said something to do with morphium something. I guess the change of time, or time change, something like that. But he kept all of his little contraband inside of this book. Yeah. Okay, symbolicum. Okay, synchronicity and symbol. Oh, great. Thank you for me. Yeah, that's serious. Synchronicity and symbol. Well, all of life is a symbol. A tree is a symbol. It's just dealing with a dynamic, an expression dynamic of the planet. The tree is the nerves of the planet. Hey, beloved. Peace.
I just had a question. You said July 1st,
Mm-hmm.
2001. I've been doing some study about May 5th, 2000,
Mm-hmm.
planetary alignment.
Right.
Touch based on that, and, the possibility of what may happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, May 5th, 2000 has been this date that has been blown up based upon what the Kemetic calendar, quiet as it's kept. They're dealing with a Kemetic calendar for an alignment, a planetary alignment, a Sirius alignment, and an Orion alignment with the Great Pyramids. Now, the Great Pyramids, if essentially you see the alignment of the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber, they're aligned specifically to Orion and to Sirius and Reticuli. Which one? Reticuli or I forgot the other part. I'm going to do something on the Great Pyramids also. But Orion and the Sirius star system, during that time, May 5th, quote unquote, 2000, there is an alignment. Remember, they're not using our calendar. The calendar you're using is screwed up. This Gregorian crap that we're going through is a convolution of Christianity. It was set up around some pope saying, Constantine and the rest of them saying, yo, this is year 1. I mean, we've been here how long? 175,000 years. They want to start year 1 around their conquest. But again, remember that the Gregorian calendar and what you're dealing with is not the calendar that they're using in order to deal with earth-based changes and phenomenon. They're giving you that date to coincide with the reality zone that you're functioning in. But they're dealing with a whole other calendar, cosmological, sidereal, extraplanetary calendar that has nothing to do with your reality. So the May 5th, 2000 is an artificial date. We're already in the actually energy dynamic for that May 5th, 2000 situation. Long before that. We hit that long before time, yeah. Yes, bro.
Yes, I want to ask you about cellular phones, since many of us use cellular phones. Can you give me a little in-depth history on that?
Okay, the cellular phone has an output, a frequency output that interferes with certain electrical impulses, neuronal impulses. What it does is the low frequency waves and pulses it gives off causes you to become hyper. You pick up and you speak faster, you think clearer. But what it does is it artificially rushes certain cells through the brain at a faster pace based upon the input of that electrical pulse in the brain. It forces your brain to work faster. But it also kills cells at a faster rate. All right? Because you think faster, you think clearer, you speak faster, but then it's just like anything that you agitate, anything that you invigorate, anything that you irritate, there is a sacrifice of cells for that higher performance. Okay, so be very mindful if you do have cellular cellular, but don't overuse them. Okay? Well, yeah, it can cause cancer if your body and your brain is functioning with a lot of filth. Your body will always defend itself from artificial or adverse waveforms. But if you do not take care of the body so that it can, yes, it may bypass the defenses that you do have and cause problems in the long run. Okay? Yes, sister? That's a boo.
How does the medical system's treatment of cancer with radiation and chemotherapy, how does that relate to what you were saying about the genetic engineering of people that they're doing, how it affects us?
That's a very good question. Who we are at this time and how we have become, I guess, again, medical science has been functioning for how long? About 150, 200 years? And they have essentially terraformed us to the point where we now function based upon how our people have degenerated over those 200 years. So diseases that we have today are actually the deteriorated health that we have. So they keep redefining health according to the amount of diseases that come up as a result of medical science. So medical science keeps redefining health. Now, with all of the introduction of these aggressive means to fight a perceived enemy, that's the problem. Medical science believes that they're fighting a perceived enemy when they set up the medical protocols for so-called therapy, or what is that, not diagnosis, treatment. Radiation essentially is the quintessential collateral damage mechanism. It kills everything in its path. It's like, let's hope to get Saddam Hussein, let's carpet bomb and hope we kill enough. So you kill about 5,000-10,000 people trying to get this one person. That's the specific mentality of medicine. What it would do is essentially create a memory in the cells. When you feed the cellular network, when you change the frequency, or when you input a different frequency in the form of chemotherapy, in the form of radiation, the cells now have to defend themselves, and they create a memory of defense in the body. What they do also is they do not completely heal. No disease is completely healed. That memory is carried on in the cellular structure, because if you interfere with the unburdening process we spoke about, that interference now creates another burden. So the introduction of chemotherapy, the introduction of all these heroic forms of drugging you, creates another kind of karmic memory that the cellular structure now has to unburden in another life. So the more drugs you take when you're dealing with this crap, more medicines that you take in your body, the more the cells have to acclimate to this new invasion. This is the imposition that we spoke about earlier. The imposition of these genetic altering things that causes the burden to be forced In other words, you take a pill for a headache, you don't get rid of the headache. You heighten the body's ability to not feel it. But the headache and the cause for the headache stays. The same way you repress the threshold. If the person is getting rid of cancer, cancer does not kill, beloved. Let's just get that straight, and I'm telling the brothers and sisters out there. Cancer does not kill. It only begins to kill when we override the directives of the body in its attempt to isolate the problem. When you have a problem in your body, the doctor looks at the problem, he now goes in, he takes a test, he punctures or destroys the encasement that the body created to defend itself with, and now the shit spreads and you wonder why. He diagnoses that the body has somehow isolated this. You got a cancer, look out, you're going to die. If I don't do this, it's metastasizing. Not telling you that that is the containment dynamic that consciousness, divine intelligence, created for itself. The body never kills itself. Every disease is an attempt of the body to isolate the problem. All diseases are short-termed. They are body-generated for the purpose of realigning the body back to health. Anytime you interfere with that process, you create a secondary burden. And then the body has to deal with that later on down the line. That's the best I can tell you, sister. Okay. Yes, beloved.
Why do you dislike King Akhenaten when you speak of?
Well, I dislike what he tried to do, but I don't dislike him. The fact that he wanted to destroy all of the gods, in other words, take away what it is that God recognized of itself. There is no one thing operating in any dynamic in reality. All of what you see is God. So there are different principles at work. There are different functions at work within God. We didn't worship gods. That's nonsense. That's what they want you to think. We were scientific. We dealt with principles. And these principles were adhered to. These principles were given homage through respect, actually. Rather than homage, they were given respect. So when you erect different animals, these animals were condensed versions of certain principles based on their behaviorisms. So they weren't gods to be worshipped. They were principles. When that happened, Akhenaten said, forget all of the specific dynamics that God expresses itself as. Forget all the names, forget all the principles, all is one. Now when you've done that, you have centralized consciousness and therefore taken the state and allowed the state to take over or to centralize a particular brand of thought that allows you to only see one thing based upon your perception. But remember, the dynamics of Kemetu energies and understanding of the dynamics of all light came from a succession, an evolution of the science of being. So I know that my left arm is not my right. I know that my right arm is not my left foot. This is what they meant. If you say this is all one thing, then the functioning dynamic that we were created to recognize and represent is taken away. You centralize God, it becomes a state instrument, like it is now, and now you no longer have the divinity. Plus you just wipe out a whole section of people that, it was political as well. Yeah, but you see, you can't deal with the whole because we're not in the whole right now. We are in the many. When God takes on the physical form, the many is the whole. You see, when you start dealing, unity cannot understand duality as unity. Unity is only unity. The only way unity understands itself is through duality. When duality is represented as itself, when it does the two dynamics of male and female, yin and yang, positive and negative, we understand the dynamics of unity in that way. So understanding unity in the realm of duality gives us a better perspective because we see unity in all of its dynamic expressions. If you take that and say, well, this is all one, when you say, okay, now, does that become expressed to one? All right, well, if that's all the one, you start dealing with generations from now, they have no clue because you've destroyed all the reasons for the one. Who are all the one? What does Enpu mean? Who is Heru? What is Ast? What is Heteru? These are dynamic expressions of the multifaceted personalities that constitutes the one you. The one you, yes. But the one you is not the one now. All of what we are enjoying is essentially the many as the one. But to come around and say that the one thing is all there is, you immediately destroy the fact that we are here to understand the many. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Peace.
I have a question in terms of when we speak about organic and eating organic foods only.
Yeah.
One, can genetically created foods also be organic? And if so, how can you tell a genetically engineered food or genetically altered food?
This is when you have to get into the subtle sciences, sister. This is where I teach people how to use the pendulum.
All right. Okay, and I have another question. I was watching one of your videos, and you were speaking about a calendar which is specifically dealt with the oscillation or the moon cycle.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you could give me some names or types of calendars, not necessarily specifically with the moon, but on in any realm that would help me to move more in a direction within the universe, looking at the universe in terms of calendar.
I'm not sure what the question means, but I would tell you that if you're looking for anything doing around the moon, is that specific?
Well, yeah, in one of your past videos on metaphysics, you named a calendar which dealt with the cycle of the moon.
The Dendera?
I couldn't understand.
Okay, was it the Dendera? Okay, I'll have to find that out for you one more time. As far as you dealing with anything that has to do with the moon, are you under the moon? Are you Cancer?
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. There are books by the Llewellyn publishing companies that have that. You can find them at the Fifth Avenue at the East-West bookstore, or you may be able to find them at Quest in the Village bookstores. And they moved it. Between 2nd and 3rd Avenue? Yeah. Well, they moved it because it used to be in the Village on 9th Avenue. As far as dealing with the moon, they have a lot of good books around the moon and what a cycle means. Again, it means reflection. It's to reflect. It's essentially to take the sun's beams and to actually give the ability to the pineal gland to function. The pineal gland does not function well in the sun. The sun burns up telepathic waves. It's at the nighttime that telepathic waves are proficient. So at that time, the moon is in its height, in its glory. So that's the best time to do any kind of soul searching, any type of reflecting on one's own actions. Okay? Peace, sister. Tetapu, sister.
Do you believe that man's beginning is at the mountains of the moon?
No.
Okay, well, I know you're above the physical. I'm talking physical form.
Well, yeah, the mountains of the moon, the Kilimanjaro, and around that area, down by where they say the Nile has its source. Well, essentially, that may be where they touched down.
Okay.
But man did not have a beginning. That is an illusion. That's the illusion that they want you to believe is real. The real truth about man is that man never had a beginning. Man constantly keeps redefining itself. Man is the redefinition of purpose within the consciousness dynamic of involution and evolution. That's all it is. Man just keeps recreating itself.
Okay, I have two quick ones. Okay. What is the connection between, I talk to people who follow the Yoruba philosophy and people who are with Kemet. Okay, I find some Yorubas bear witness or feel that they migrated west from Kemet. But I've heard one who's supposed to be a high priest or whatever say that, Kemet, they only have X amount of Orisha or gods. But in Yoruba, we have over 2,000. I mean, he was very distinct. Like, there's no connection whatsoever. And they believe in their, I don't like to call it mythology, but I'll call that, for lack of a better term, that they came down to earth by way of a chain. okay? And that's where it all began, there at Ifa, okay? I'm kind of like in a cross-up. I'm saying, you know, they said, well, our history goes back 7,000, 8,000 years. Kemet is only 5,000.
Okay, that's enough. First of all, the chain that they're talking about is the DNA helix. We all came from that chain. The DNA helix. The helix. That's the chain of life. At this time, when people start bragging and believing that they were the first, it's all bullshit. We got to definitely be suspect of anybody who keeps talking about how great they were, 2,000 Orishas. I could give less of a royal shit, not to be so disrespectful. I don't care. I'll tell you the truth. I know that there is a divinity within us that expresses itself multifariously. I know that divinity is real because I am here deciphering with you. I am here with you interfacing, and I know that you are divinity. And I know that you are Orisha. I know that you are Neteru. I know that you are Nibiru. I know that you are everything that we perceive outside of ourselves. We are that. Now, not to be disrespectful for anybody practicing anything, but if you're practicing at anything, you still ain't got it right. That's one. Number two, if you feel that you have to worship anything outside of yourself rather than just give respect, then there's something wrong. That's part of the illusion. That's part of the paradigm.
When you become initiated, you are, your Orisha is put into your head. You become that.
I give respect to that feeling and that belief. But there's a dynamic beyond that. That whatever it is that they're putting onto you is ceremonially only ceremonious. Nothing can be put on you. Whatever you are is based upon involution. You evolve from the involutionary seed that is placed upon you based on your experiences. There is no such thing as anyone giving you spirit. That's like anybody giving you a cure. There's no cure to any damn thing. There is only healing that is done by divine intelligence. There are many ways for you to interface and play with the dynamics that they call Orisha, with the dynamics they call Neteru, with the dynamics that they call angels. These are interfacing patterns of light, and how they, through their own interfacing with the prism of life, gives you the specific color of your awareness, and thus the names that you give to these things. That's all it is, sister. And until we free ourselves of the bondage of belief structures, that's what keeps us in this paradigm of idiocy. We will always be here doing it. Yeah. The last where the white man came from? Oh, there are many dynamics. Really, right now, I don't care because he's here. You know, you don't wonder where the cancer came from. You don't wonder where your problem came from. You want to know how to solve it. Really, the dynamics is there is no creation beyond the fact that there is degeneration. That he himself studied himself and wondered why he was so different from everything and everybody on the planet, because everything on the planet that was alive had pigmentation. He did not know why he did not have pigmentation. He deifies all animals that are white. Our ancestral people, the so-called natives, our indigenous peoples, used to use the white buffalo as a sign. The white buffalo simply meant that there was a change in the order. The consciousness dynamic was changing. It meant that there was the death of a paradigm. Anything that is white signifies death. It believes it is the beginning. Any death is a beginning. It is not an end. So the signal of the white buffalo was a beginning. It was the signal of a time to come. Anything white shows you that that strain is degenerating and dying. So when you see a white tiger, a white horse, or these things that come out white and pale, you know it was the degeneration of a specific species. The Caucasian, essentially, speaks to the degeneration of a type, a consciousness type, which you, as the melanated people, were the original, the forebearers of that. The dark people, the darkest of all the dark peoples, were black to the point of not being able to be seen. Their eyes did not have any white in them because there were no sclera. Their ability to see not only physical light but the consciousness light was denoted by the skin tone color. From the darkness came the light, but in order for the light to be able to understand itself from the darkness, it had to return to the darkness, and that's why black was created on your skin or as your skin. So you are the best diffusers of light because of the pigment you have. And the darkest of all the darkest people were blue black, purple black, green black, yellow black. This black was the field upon which the awareness grew. It was the soil upon which consciousness grew. The level of your consciousness was denoted in the color that you radiated. That's why you could see some of the vestigial remainders of our people. You see them sometimes in Africa, the Senegalese. They're so black they're radiating blue or even green. These were the people, the original peoples. These were the original consciousness dynamic. But as it stands right now, we just brown. What we brown from? We brown because we are scorched earth. There is no hue in the hue man anymore. The hue was what gave off the color consciousness dynamic, which connected us to those light codes that we have. Right now, we're just barren earth. There is no consciousness growing on this soil because there is no hue on the color tone. There are no tones. You understand? So right now, even though we have vestigial remainders of the color, which is fantastic, we still have the earth that can be terraformed with consciousness. You don't have the hue anymore. You have to terraform this earth, this thing. You have to change the dynamics of this earth. Change the agreement you have to function in this particular earth so that you can turn the hue that once glowed. Those are the original ones. That's the hue and the hue man. That's right. Yes, beloved. That's that book, sister.
I work with preschoolers.
Mm-hmm.
And although personally I have never favored microwaves,
Mm-hmm.
I never bought one.
Yeah.
But there is one there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to know the effects that microwaves have on our bodies,
Okay.
particularly little small children
Mm-hmm.
that are 3 and 4 years old.
Yeah.
Very often, when the microwave is being used,
Mm-hmm.
they're directly in line with those waves.
Right.
Will you speak on that, please?
It's a very good point. I confess to be a user of microwaves at times. But I know that I have a energy dynamic that can help to put it back into check. But children, never bring them around a microwave. Definitely not around a microwave. A microwave kind of destroys food from the inside. It essentially heats from the inside. Any kind of heating is a destroying mechanism. Okay? So all of us guilty of that in heating our food. Doesn't matter whether you heat it from the outside in or the inside out. You destroy it. The microwave uses short waves, and short waves are most destructive. They heat the fastest because they come like that. Instead of going through it, they bombard. And what they do is when they reach to the center of it, it explodes from the inside. The microwaves explode when they hit. The idea is that's why it's spinning like that. It's hitting from all sides, and it's exploding at the center where the molecular structures are. So that's why it heats from the inside. Sometimes you can feel the top, it's cool, but if you reach the bottom or anything, it's hot as heck hell. Well, it's exploding from the inside. So it's a way of reversing destruction. It's instead of heating from the outside in, it destroys from the inside. But microwaves tend to destroy linkages, DNA linkage. And they do that from shooting from those LEOs, low Earth orbiters. They have this microwave technology, which is a weapon that can destroy essentially the bonds, the hydrogen bonds and the links in the DNA. So you have to be mindful of the fact that microwaves are forms of weaponry. They are forms of inducing. As a matter of fact, they can also entrain information into your head when they are attenuated and used on a longer or more softer wave band. This is what I was going to speak to you about. dealing with artificial telepathy. Artificial telepathy uses your bones because calcium is an electrical has an electrical ion. It feels electricity very well. That's why people who've gone and visited the pyramid sometimes hears voices, because the whole of the inside of the pyramid is based in limestone, which is calcium. So it's a very good electrical conductor, calcium. What they do is they've taken the certain wave patterns, and using your bones and your teeth in your head, they can vibrate sound by entraining it into your bones, sound and voices, to make you think that you're thinking certain thoughts, and it's not your own. So be very aware of your thinking. That's why I said at the end, you may not know whether or not you're thinking thought or whether thought is thinking you. You have to be very mindful of things that you think you're thinking, because they have done things now to be able to entrain thinking through the bones, because the bones, again, are an electrical filter. So no, be mindful of the fact that the microwave is dangerous. I know it's dangerous, and sometimes I want a quick heat for my my tofu or whatever. You know, I kick it in there. I'm guilty. You know, mea culpa.
Is there a place where I can get information on this microwave?
Yes, sister.
And I can pass it on?
Yeah. I suggest that you call. There is, I think there's an information brochure. No, better still. You can call to, what's the name of that? Try the American Natural Hygienic Society and see if they're still running, and ask them if they have information on on microwaves. Or you can actually go down to one of those stores. Some of the health food stores have books that have that. Yes, brother.
There's a book called Low Radiation Silent Killer.
Okay, beautiful. See, we're all here. Barnes and Nobles, Low Radiation, the Silent Killer. There you go. Thank you so much, man. Yes. Hi. Mm-hmm.
There's a movement on right now about our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
There's a group of people going around saying that we're supposed to have 12 strands, and they're holding workshops and getting people, and they claim to recode the DNA so that we can plug in. We're supposed to have 12 strands so that we can plug in the 10 that are not plugged in right now. And I want to know how valid that is, and if it's something we should take seriously.
Well, yeah, there is a movement afoot to try to resuscitate the memory that has shut down the codon, the codon links, which then gives us the spiral that is supposed to be encased. We're supposed to have 13. That's the Christ one. There are supposed to be 12, 3 helixes, and inside of those 3 is supposed to be 3, 6, 9, 4 specific light filters on a subatomic quark level that is supposed to constitute a flowering of the other 12, or the other 12. Yeah, they're supposed to make up actually 13. It's supposed to be 12, and as the 12 works and to become one with the energy, a 13th dynamic, or a halo is created, a halo of light that now becomes a ridge. Okay, so you figure, for instance, if you're seeing this thing glowing, this is comprising the 13, the 12 the helixes. Then it creates a specific energy dynamic that creates a ridge which constitutes the 13th, the encapsulation, or the Jesus. They talk about the Jesus strand. Yeah, they're dynamic, but they want to do it artificially. They want to start playing that up based upon accelerating evolution. It's called evolutionary acceleration. And by doing that, they'll tend to try to bring you or bring themselves into a space where they start dealing with interdimensional communication. So I know that there is interdimensional communication. All you got to do is go into a trance and begin to activate on that particular etheric level, and you get the same energy dynamics that you would if they were actually there. So you can go into the possession of the drums and start dancing, and start filtering into other dimensions like our people do anyway. You see, you don't need to do it like the white folks need to do it. Oh, Kim, artificially, we're going to grow this one strand, and we're going to attach it right there. Oh, isn't that great? Okay, bring that one over there, and we have the thing spring. That's bullshit. We don't need to do that. Know ye not that ye are gods. We are already that.
Thank you. Just one quick question. Could you just comment on the silver mind control?
Yeah. Yeah, that's CIA. Silver mind control.
Jose Silva.
Yeah, I know. Jose Silva. Yeah, I heard about Jose Silva. Jose Silva and your boy from what's the boy who sells that stuff on the streets? Huh? No, not York. Who's this white boy that trained the CIA? No. White boy that trained. He's got a book out. Dianetics. Earl Ron Hubbard. Now, Earl Ron Hubbard is a bad motherfucker. You're sleeping. Huh? Oh, yeah. The government wanted his. Yeah. In fact, yeah. In fact, the silver mind control was part of what they teach. That's the next level of when they're ready to initiate their military men into covert ops, okay? Promoting what is known as remote viewing. Now, the remote viewing situation we have with ESP and espionage, most of the people who brought remote viewing to the CIA were trained by L. Ron Hubbard. Remote viewing, the same person that was out there talking some shit to your boy Art Bell, he was a Silver graduate. He was a member of L. Ron Hubbard's inner elite. Remember, you got to go through certain stages before you get into L. Ron Hubbard's close circle. And he has a council of 13. Oh, yeah. Remote viewing is the same thing your ancestors used to do by way of the currents. There are ways that you could set up sympathetic energies just by manifesting the name, just by putting your hand on the Bible. Like when you come to see me, people wonder, well, how is it that you know what's going on? Because I get into empathy with you. All I have to do is sit there with you for a minute, and everything about you begins to radiate in my being. Once you do that, you're talking to the spirit of the person, and that person doesn't have to say a word. People are wondering, how do you know this? The same particular dynamic, using vectors of light, using empathy, using consciousness wave patterns, using the wind, using light, using all of these, you can interface and see through people's eyes. You can interface that way. As a matter of fact, there is a web of life. That's the principle behind remote viewing and silver mind. There is a web of life that connects everything that is living and non-living. The non-living are connected in one level of strata, the living connected to another level of strata. When you tweak one part of that dynamic, you affect another part. I could take your picture right here and go to Bombay, India, and send a specific light frequency to your picture and affect you over here from Bombay. Because the filters that came together to create the image that was you is comprised of you. All right? So every picture you take, that's why some of the ancestors said, I don't want you taking my picture, you capture my soul. They're right. The light filaments that your aura gives off, that gives the picture of you, is what it is that they're actually working. And I can work with that. That's why the ancestors used to set up these dolls that had the likeness of you. And that's why they rode those people crazy in Haiti, and why them motherfuckers had to run out of Haiti. Because they don't use their voodoo anymore. They done got Catholic. See, that's what Christianity did to your shit. It took your magic and kicked it up the ass. Until you get your magic back, you will not know who you are. You will not be interfacing with the Orishas and all the rest of these dynamics. And then once you got that understanding of it on the scientific plane, understanding on the organic plane, you ain't got to put names to shit no more. You just use mind, because the greatest civilizations on the planet, or on any planet, or on any reality, did not have any technologies. Yes, it is. So understanding energy dynamics. So silver mind control is essentially what it is, silver mind control. And it's about you focusing. Remember I was telling you about feeling and it's taking desire and feeling, understanding the field of feeling, and then focusing it through desire. And that's what silver mind control is about. Yes, sister.
I have a question regarding, we were just talking about Akhenaten and you were against his beliefs. Now, I just saw a ridiculous movie last night called The Mummy. Okay. Oh, please. And there those who have seen that movie, history has just done a flip over.
Yeah.
It was a way.
Yeah.
I knew it was supposed to be somewhat funny. But they demonized Imhotep.
Yes, they did.
Scourge of the earth.
Yes.
So I'm wondering exactly, since I don't have a thorough understanding of Imhotep, I would like to know what is the reason for them deifying, not deifying, but maybe
demonizing him. That's a good point, sister. You know, he
was the ultimate scourge of the earth. And all the 10 plagues of Egypt were supposed to be
come through Imhotep. Which is very, very interesting, because essentially, interesting to note that Imhotep was the father of medicine. He was the Grand Vizier. He was the creator and the designer of the so-called step pyramids, not only here, but over in the North American continent as well, the South American continent. He essentially was so bad that the Neteru came down, and took him as one of them, because he was of a lineage. He was supposed to have been seeded by one of the Anunnaki anyway, and his mother was the one who gave him the knowledge of all of the herbs and the science of healing. And as a matter of fact, Imhotep did not become a man. Imhotep was essentially a title, just like Heru is a title. Heteru is a title. Isis is a title, is not a person. It is essentially what you ascend to based upon the quality that that particular deity represents. You wear the mantle of Ast. You wear the mantle of Heru, of Heteru, of Herukuti. All these are mantles, just like what the brother was wondering, why do you want to get rid of all the gods? These mantles were essentially what constituted the fixtures that made up the groundation or the foundation of reality. So to completely say that the pantheon does not exist and all that exists is the one was to completely destroy the balance that was created by the expression of the one thing as the many. Okay? Now, the destruction of Imhotep is necessary because medicine wants that to happen. You know, for want of a better word, the medical church or the medical temples of the West cannot see the true father of medicine, who Imhotep was, who essentially was known as Asclepius in the Greek. And Asclepius was actually the son of Hermes Trismegistus, or the so-called god called Jehudi, Thoth. And there is a good book that I think you should get called The Virgin of the World. Okay? By Maitland. In it, it has an incredible conversation between the father and his son. Asclepius is essentially Imhotep. Or Hermes, Imhotep. Well, Imhotep. Yeah, the first. Actually, the first. You want to deal with the first. The son of Jehudi. Yeah, but they're not said to who. It's Jehudi. That's how it's pronounced. Yeah, Thoth. And what you need to do also is to read another book which is excellent called the Poimanda. The Poimanda. This is another book by Hermes speaking to his son. Incredible books. And you have to understand what's being said. Again, having the prerequisite in metaphysics is excellent for when you're dealing with it. The Divine Poimanda and the the Greek is Poimander, but it may be spelt as Pymander. And the other book is called The Virgin of the World. Excellent dialogue between Asclepius and his son, and his father, I believe. And in the Poimanda, it shows you the reason for homosexuality on another spiritual tip, on a psychological tip, where the The specific soul does not create on the physical realm, and as a result, it does not know its task. So the masculine principle, or the feminine principle that does not generate life, cannot understand the principle that is evoked within it through its feelings as a mother or as a father. Therefore, if it takes on another life without having that experience, it comes not understanding what it is in the next life, and therefore plays a dual role within the same body. So you have to deal with some of these things. It's deep. Of course, that particular action can be sidestepped by the beneficence that you give, the love you give to other children and all these things. But if you just coalesce by yourself and be by yourself and want to be by yourself and don't play upon that, which most women today are not doing, and most men, certain men are not doing as well, you don't understand what fatherhood is. Fatherhood is not just taking care of a child, because you don't teach the child how to be a child. The child teaches you how to be a parent. So the child becomes the father to the man, or becomes the mother to the woman. So that's the synergy. That is the flower of life. That's the continuum that goes on the fact that we are all here on this dynamic journey, just enjoying one another. You die, go to war, you fight, you kill. You've done this before. Krishna told Arjuna, as he was standing there ready to go into battle, scared to death, he says, why are you scared? You did this so many times before. You died and come back. This is your thing. Stop worrying about death. Leave that mentality of finality and the end of days and all that shit alone. You are a forever creature, and you keep cranking this dynamic of infinity into this beautiful blossoming body you got. You flower each time you come through the womb. Every time you take on the flesh, you got a whole new chance to unburden yourself. And this is what you're here to do right now. We've just unburdened ourselves with the realization we've exchanged today. Know thyself and heal thyself, love thyself.